Hey everybody, today we're looking at writing and solving some proportions. So we're continuing to look at our explorations of ratios and equivalent fractions and things like that and how we can come up with things that are the same. And we've really looked at this idea pretty much this entire ELO so far. So all of the steps that we've done up until now have really been still kind of leading to this. And in fact, everything we're doing today we've done before. We're just going to look at maybe an equation or a formula we can use to make our lives a little bit easier. So when we've seen problems like this, all right, so here we have a train that travels 50 miles every 40 minutes. All right, determine the number of miles a train travels in 90 minutes. All right, you create this table. All right, so we've done this a few different ways, right? And one way is maybe to see, all right, what am I multiplying 40 by to get 90? And if I do that, right, I can figure out what I would multiply here, okay? And in fact, how we set this up a while ago, guys, when we were working through these things, is we said, all right, if we take 40, right, and we want to multiply this by something to get 90, right? And our rule we came up with is if we take what we want and divide that by what we started with, which is 40, that's going to give us our answer, all right? And if we do this, right, 90 divided by 40, we would end up with, well, 2.25. So what did that mean in our context, right? That meant to get from here to here, I could multiply by 2.5. So if I do that up top, that's going to give me what I want. So if I take 50 times 2.5, I end up with 112.5, which would be my answer, or how many miles I traveled in 90 minutes. Okay. Now, is there an easier way to do this? Okay. Well, sometimes we looked at these, and if they were easier fractions, they were easy to do with mental math. Meaning, like if I went from here to here, well, 2 times what gives me 8? Well, we all know 2 times 4 is 8, right? So if I multiply by 4 to get that, I could do that up here as well. And 3 times 4 would give me 12. So, hey, that value of x would be 12. Similarly here, right? 5 times 4 gives me 20. So then to figure out what d is, I would take 8 times 4, and, well, 8 times 4 is 32. So my value for d would be 32. Okay? So these are how we solved these in the past, but now, what if they are more difficult, like that first one that we saw? Right? We found a method that worked, but it was pretty cumbersome. So what we're going to do here, guys, is we're going to go back to this last thing we talked about, which is the idea of a cross product. And now we're going to throw in one more little step. So that final piece is that we can divide by x, guys. So if I take my cross product here, so I would have 7 times 8 equals 10 times x, right? And this would give me 56 equals 10 times x, or 10x's, all right? Now I can divide by 10. So if I divide both sides by what I'm multiplying x by, or in other words, if I divide, right, my original by what I started with, my original divided by what I started with, using that same terminology we've talked about before, that's going to give me my answer. So 56 divided by 10 would give me 5.6. And that's how we can do this using our cross product. Okay? Let's look at another example together. So here, right, if I want to figure out what x is, that's my goal, right? And mental math doesn't work real well, right? I can do my cross product. So if I take 3 times 20, I get 60. And then my next cross product would be 8 times x, which is 8x. And now we set our rule to solve for x, guys, is we can divide both sides by this 8. And that's going to give me x by itself. So 60 divided by 8 would give me 7.5 for my answer. So why don't you take a look at this one. So the first thing we would do is set this up as our proportion, and then try and solve. So see if you can do this one on your own using the cross products. All right, guys, so if I do my cross product, I get 5 times 8 would equal 2x. Divide by 2, 40 divided by 2 gives me 20, which is my answer.